Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Publis. Publis is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Publis.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well. Today we recap yesterday's NASCAR Capital World Truck Series race at Daytona, where everyone finished, including Haley Deegan, making her Capital World Truck Series debut. Plus, today we'll preview the ARCA Menards Lucas Oil 200, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, kicking off their season at Daytona International Raceway. Welcome to Grid Life Pre-Race. Hello everyone, welcome to Grid Life Pre-Race. Very excited day. Of course, we invite you to comment and participate in the chat room. We'll love to answer your questions on the air and share your opinions when we can. With us today, Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish and Adam, our Supercar expert. We'll start off with a recap of a thrilling NASCAR Camping World Truck Series season opener last night. The Camping World Truck Series kicked off the season, an unusual, crazy race at Daytona. The crashing began early on in the race as 3 trucks sustained damage. During the start of the race was a stack up towards the back of the starting grid. James Buescher and the Nice Motorsports 44 was out of the race before completing a single lap. In total, 10 caution flags for 43 laps in this race. The longest green flag run was only 16 laps. The second longest run was 10 laps. A lot of yellow flags, and the race went 101 laps with overtime. Kobe, Adam, did the race ever have a flow or a rhythm going on?
Well, Joe, that was definitely one crazy NASCAR Camping World Truck Series season opener. I mean, we definitely saw a lot of good racing, but we also saw quite a few cautions as well. And overall, I thought we saw a really great race, especially that finish. I really thought we were going to see an upset victory with Corey Roper, and then we all know what happened after that crash coming to the start finish line. Yeah, Ben Rhodes went around the outside, took the victory, and Jordan Anderson so close once again, as Chip Ganassi says, close but no cigar.
Yeah, that was an incredible truck race. Last lap, it was all hands on deck. You had 3 wide going for the win. I thought Corey Roper was going to win, but congratulations to Ben Rhodes on the victory, and Jordan Anderson came just inches from claiming his first career win. That's Daytona for you. Anything can happen, will happen, and usually does happen.
Exactly. It was just one of those races where I just knew going into the last lap, the leader at the start-finish line was most likely not going to have the lead. Definitely, of course, that was the case. And, of course, behind the top 3, there was about 2 other trucks, and then everyone else up against the wall, smoke, tires, everything. It was just an insane race. Now, of course, with everything going on, the race, just short green flag runs, it'll be really interesting once you get to the first race where they could have a long green flag run, especially the 1.5 ovals. What will happen? In the end, the race did, as I mentioned, went to overtime. The last lap, plenty of action. Corey Roper, of course, was leading down the backstretch. Ben Rhodes getting a big push. Jordan Anderson, 11th place. As you mentioned, Kobe, he came up to 2nd. And, of course, one of the big things out of turn 4, Corey tried to do everything he can to block Ben, but essentially there was nothing going on. Ben got around the outside. Here comes Jordan Anderson on the inside. Everyone behind him crashing. Ben Rhodes managed to get the win. Jordan Anderson just 2nd place, but had that been a start-finish line like in Talladega, it would have easily been a case where I think Jordan Anderson would have gotten that. Corey Roper of course, took third place. Here's what Jordan Anderson had to say about taking second place.
I tell you what, to try to put it into words, came down here. My dad and I, he's here with me tonight in 2015, and came here originally for the first time in 1999 and watched down here. My dad and I drove down and slept in the back of our Tahoe and came down here and watched speed weeks down here. And, you know, as a kid growing up wanting to be a race car driver, Daytona is the holy grail of every single track that we go to. It's just so special here, the amount of history and all the legends that have raced here. And to be able to come here 2 years in a row to finish second, that was a pure Moses moment that we just had earlier tonight, to go from, I think, 11th or 12th coming to the white flag, and just the way everything worked out. But just my whole life having to fight and claw for everything that we have, and all the partners and sponsorship that we've been able to put together, and the people that have jumped behind us to just be here on this national stage is so special and means so much. And you asked me why I can get excited about it. Just being here is exciting. To have an opportunity to race in NASCAR, the Camping World Truck Series, to be here in the series and compete is amazing enough to have an opportunity to be here every year. And I think I'm just most happy because we were a month ago so close to shutting down our truck team. We're going to try and go Xfinity racing this year, trying to qualify our way in tomorrow. And I'm glad that we made the decision to keep racing this thing and to come that close again to winning one of these things. It's I just, the whole last lap was a blur. I couldn't even replay it for you, talk about it. It just happened so quick.
It was a very quick last lap. And of course, Jordan Anderson was answering Bob Pockers from Fox Sports question why he was so excited to be in second place for the second year in a row at Daytona. One driver that had a lot of excitement entered the race was, of course, Hailie Deegan. Deegan finished 3 laps behind the leaders in 24th place after a late spin and crashed into the inside wall along the Daytona Superstretch. After last year's ARCA performance that she had, were you surprised by her performance last night?
Yes, I was. Hailie Deegan is a very successful racer. Like you said, Joe, she has a lot of success in the ARCA series. I was expecting her to have at least a top 10 finish last night in the truck race. But I think she'll bounce back this year. Her team is a very good team in the series, so I wouldn't be surprised if Hailie Deegan has probably about a few top 5 finishes and a few top 10 finishes. Maybe close to a win, but not this year.
Well, I think Hailie Deegan did a really good job at Daytona last night. I said she ran really well inside of the lead drive. She also had one of the best super speedway racers, in my opinion, as her teammate and her boss David Gilliland was in the race. And I think Hailie did exactly what she needed to do last night. Get out there, log as many laps as she can, get experience running the truck in the draft. I thought she did a really good job. She had a lot of more experienced drivers around her in that lead draft, and she was able to learn a lot. And Hailie even came on the radio and said that you have to be really smart in these races, and there was a lot more going on in the truck series race than the ARCA race. As we know, ARCA had a lot of car count concerns last year. And at the super speedways, especially I remember that Talladega race, there wasn't really a lot you could learn, just by single file drafting with only a few competitive cars. So competition, much tighter in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And I think that Hailie Deegan gained a lot of experience that will be useful as she continues to develop as a young driver. So I think despite finishing 3 laps down after getting involved in that incident on the backstretch, a lot of positives to take away from it. And I'm sure as the season goes on, she'll continue to get better.
A lot of positives, and the big thing, of course, for Hailie Deegan, the truck series, as you mentioned, is very competitive. I mean, everyone after the race was talking about how this field was so close between first place to last place. The restrictor plates, super speedway package just makes it even more tighter. That's why we see so many crashes and really tight racing throughout the night. Of course, everyone was also talking about Ben Rhodes. Ben led 7 laps. He was 600 drivers led more laps than Ben, but Ben led the lap that counted the most, the final lap, and especially in overtime. Here's Ben telling Lee Spencer from motorsports.com about the significance of his win.
You know, when you're a kid, the one that appeals to you most is Daytona. It's the super speedway race. I remember playing dirt to Daytona. I played NASCAR 06, 7, 8, 9. I played all of them. And Daytona's the place that you want to be, right? It's just the biggest race of the year. And, you know, now that my home track's not even on the schedule, there's nothing that compares to this win. There's nothing. This is it for me. And I don't know. It's sunk in, but it hasn't. Like, I haven't got to see my team yet and you know, see what they've been up to, but I can't imagine what trouble they're stirring up outside. And we're going to be up all night partying. This is going to be a great time. They're going to, you know, just it's something that means so much to them. It's something that means so much to me. Like, we've all dreamt of this, and for it to become a reality, I mean, you got to have luck on your side. You got to have everything on your side. For 3 years now, we've been leading or in the front, one of the front rows, and 2 laps to go, we get into a wreck. So we've been trying for a long time, and it's finally come together.
Now, one of the big things, of course, some of the notable finishers throughout the race, Sheldon Creed, a defending champion, came home in 6th place. John Hunter Nemechek in his first race for Kyle Busch Motorsports, 7th place. Chandler Smith, 9th. Started last lap in the lead, lost the draft early on. Matt Crafton, 15th. Jennifer Jo Cobb, she came home 18th place. More on her on Thursday, the Women Racing to Win program. Brett Moffitt, 25th. And Johnny Sauter, the pole sitter, came home 27th. The next race for the Camping World Truck Series is the Daytona Road Course on February 19th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Sheldon Creed won that race last year on the Daytona Road Course, which this year it is replacing the Homestead Miami Speedway race.
Shortly after our program at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, coverage of the ARCA Menards Series Lucas Oil 200 Daytona is supposed to get underway on FS1, and we'll definitely see about that because we're under a holding pattern right now with the weather. Thunderstorm coming through the Daytona Beach area, so we're probably not going to start that race on time. I'm just thinking, and we could probably going to be battling rain showers all throughout the day. So hopefully we'll get lucky, find that window, and get both ARCA and Xfinity races in. And with that said, it's supposed to be a special doubleheader Saturday where ARCA racing first, then the NASCAR Xfinity Series might change around depending on the weather. And Xfinity coverage is supposed to begin later today at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, also on FS1. But starting with the ARCA Menards Series, we have quite a mix of young talent this year. A lot of people are feeling more optimistic about having a competitive super speedway race this time around, especially I remember that last super speedway race we had at Talladega when there weren't really a lot of competitive cars and it was a much smaller field. And we have 34 cars entered for today's race. Starting with the number 2 Rev Racer Chevrolet, Nick Sanchez stepping up to ARCA National this year after finishing 3rd in ARCA East last season. 2 drivers who ran in last night's truck race, Drew Dollar and Tanner Gray, are in the show. Gray had some mechanical issues with his truck before the green flag last night, so he's definitely looking to rebound and have a better race today. We also have Ty Gibbs in the show, driving the number 18 Toyota Camry for Joe Gibbs Racing. He'll compete for the ARCA title and make his Xfinity debut next weekend at the Daytona Road Course. And what is arguably the best equipment in the ARCA garage is 2021 an ARCA championship or bust for Ty Gibbs.
It appears like it is a championship or bust effort. He has the best equipment. Expectations really high on him, especially this year, especially with going to the Xfinity Series, making that debut, looking at making that a full-time venture. If he really needs to prove that, hey, I could go out there, I could win the ARCA championship, will really silence any doubters out there against Gibbs.
Other drivers who could play a factor in today's race are Corey Haim, driver for Venturini Motorsports, Jack Wood, who was racing in ARCA West, now getting a great opportunity to race in the ARCA Menards Series with GMS Racing. Thad Moffitt, Ricky Petty's grandson, going to be driving for David Gilliland Racing. Defending ARCA champion Brett Holmes is also in the race. He'll be running part-time schedule in ARCA this year and the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. However, I want to discuss 3 drivers that were highlighted in Thursday's episode of the Women Racing to Win with Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. We have 3 women racing today: Gracie Trotter, Brittany Zamora, and Tony Bredinger. And starting with Trotter, she'll be running a part-time schedule this year with Venturini after making history last year, becoming the first woman to win an ARCA sanctioned event. She finished 3rd last year in the ARCA West standings. What should we expect from her in today's race?
I think she'll have a top 5 finish. She's in a very competitive car, Venturini Motorsports. They've had a very successful history. in the ARCA series. I'm going back to Bill Venturini and then his son Billy Venturini. So I expect good things today from Gracie Trotter driving for Venturini Motorsports.
Gracie Trotter, very strong. That team overall is very strong as well too. Stay out of trouble. I think she definitely has the potential of being up front, like you said, Adam. The big thing, of course, in the ARCA series, you could easily get into somebody else's mess, and that'll ruin your day.
Yeah, and Gracie Trotter is definitely gonna be starting in a great position today because she's lined up on the front row. So definitely great starting position for Gracie Trotter, and there's nowhere to go but up from there, and be interested to see how she does throughout the race. And ironically, last year the driver who Trotter replaced in the number 99 Bill McAnally race in ARCA West car was Brittany Zamora. People were shocked that Zamora did not return to Bill McAnally racing full time in 2020 because she showed potential, especially. People thought she could take a next step with another full-time season of ARCA West racing under her belt, and she didn't make one ARCA West start last year, and she'll be racing for Rhett Jones Racing today. And this is the same Rhett Jones team that won the ARCA East season opener just a few days ago with Max Gutierrez after getting dropped from her full-time ARCA West ride before the 2020 season. Does Brittany Zamora have something to prove?
She certainly has something to prove. She really wants to show that, hey, you guys messed up by letting me go. I'm going to come out here, try to beat you all at Daytona. Can't make a bigger statement than that. Bringing Zamora, of course, like any driver that go through this experience, they feel like they got a chip on their shoulder. They have to go out there, make the case for themselves. And I think Brittany Zamora is very capable of doing that.
Yeah, she definitely is gonna have to go out there and try to prove that they made the wrong decision to let her go, and the best way to do that is to simply go out there, perform well, and win at the World Center race. And I'm sure that would be something that she'd never forget, as any driver who wins at Daytona. Toni Bradinger entered today's ARCA race as a 19-time race winner in USAC competition, and she's the all-time winningest female driver in USAC. And Bradinger made 3 ARCA starts with Venturini in 2018. With a best finish of 10th at Madison. She spent last year racing pro late models across the Carolinas, and she's planning to run select races in ARCA and trucks with Young's Motorsports this year. We haven't seen much of Toni yet at this level of competition like the other 2 women racing. How does a young driver like her make their presence known?
Big way, and especially when this is your first super speedway race, go out there, just take your time, learn the drafting, the pack racing, everything that's going around you. Rely on that spotter. If you're going out there logging laps, learning, people are going to talk about you, and especially if you can put yourself in a good spot to avoid the trouble out there. Finish the race, bring it home in one piece. People are going to be talking about you doing the race, completing the race. And very likely, if you could avoid trouble, you could be in the top 10.
Yeah, and we had group qualifying earlier today before a weather delay that has put all on-track action on pause. Drew Dollar won the pole, so it's definitely going to be an all Venturini Motorsports front row with Gracie Trotter, as I mentioned, qualified second, starting alongside her teammate. Greg Van Alst is starting third. Rich Bickle, and that's a name that NASCAR fans haven't heard for a while, fourth, and Jack Wood qualified fifth. And looking at some of the notables, Derek Griffith, the short track standout from the Northeast, starting sixth. Tanner Gray, 10th. Ty Gibbs, one of the championship favorites, in 13th. Defending ARCA Menards Series champion Brett Holmes, 15th. Brittany Zamora, 19th. And Toni Bradinger qualified 31st in that 34-car field. So definitely Toni has a long way to go. And one follow-up before moving on to the Xfinity Series, Joe. What do you think of group qualifying on the super speedway track? Is that something that you're a fan of, or do we need to just go back to single car qualifying there to remain consistent with the NASCAR format in ARCA?
The single group car qualifying, I feel, makes it where if you have one big group out there, the draft becomes an issue. And we've seen time and time again, especially other series like Formula One, when they're in Monza, everyone's just trying to be that last vehicle out where you have the biggest draft. You don't want to be the first one out. For the ARCA series, especially when this is their first time for many drivers in the super speedway, I feel the single car, one at a time, going out there, set a fast lap might be the preferred option. But of course, a big thing, that's going to take a longer time. If you have 38 cars, you're looking at about 38 minutes, where if you can fit 30 minutes, all the cars, it also makes it for a better viewing package for television.
Yeah, definitely. You bring up a good point there about television. Personally, I'm not really a fan of the of group qualifying super speedway. I think it would be fairer if we just had the single car qualifying and just went on about our way. But looking at everything that happened, if we would have had single car qualifying this morning, I don't know if we would have gotten ARCA qualifying in, because with the group qualifying, definitely takes less time than just going one at a time. And it just all worked out today. But overall, I like to see ARCA go back to single car qualifying on the super speedways. And after the ARCA race, it'll be time for Xfinity. And this race, it has a really interesting name to it. It's called the Beef. It's What's for Dinner 300. Ironically, coverage starts at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1, which is around dinner time for all the East Coast folks out there. 45 cars entered, strong field. It's shaping up to be a very competitive championship season, starting with defending Xfinity Series champion Austin Cindric returning. He'll definitely have some tough competition from Justin Allgaier and Noah Gragson at Junior Motorsports, Mike Snyder and Richard Childress Racing, Riley Hurst replacing Chase Briscoe in the number 98 Ford. So definitely some big shoes to fill there for Riley. A strong three-car stable at Joe Gibbs Racing. Daniel Hemrick moving full time over there to number 18 Toyota Supra. We have Brandon Jones and Harrison Burton returning. Of course, Colleague Racing expanded to 3 full-time cars this year with Jeb Burton, who's replacing Ross Chastain, and number 10 Nutrien Solutions Chevrolet. We also have Justin Haley returning, and AJ Allmendinger is going to be full-time back in NASCAR in that number 16. Brett Moffitt's going to be in the the 02 full time with our Motorsports, who's expanded to a 2-car team. Unfortunately, their second car, the 03, Tyler Reddick, wasn't able to make the race today because of weather. Don't forget Brandon Brown and Ryan Sieg, whose team is going to be switching to Ford RSS Racing. And that's just some of the field. It seems like Xfinity will be super competitive this year. And like, really, here's what I'm thinking: like, who in the world can prevent Austin Cindric from going back to back?
Well, if you want my opinion, I'll give you a couple names to look out for. You have AJ Allmendinger, who's now full-time with Colleague Racing. You have Harrison Burton. You have Jeb Burton. Don't forget about Justin Allgaier and Michael Annett. It could be a very competitive 2021 Xfinity Series season. You got so many drivers that come back from last year. They're starting out at Daytona, where anything can happen, will happen, and usually does happen. You could have a first-time winner today, or you could have a repeat winner. It should be a very good race later on this afternoon at the World Center of Racing.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's going to be an incredible race today, and it's going to be an incredible season in NASCAR Xfinity Series. Definitely not going to be easy for Austin Cindric to repeat his Xfinity Series championship. Mentioned you got JR Motorsport, Dale Jr. and Kelly's team. It's gonna be competitive once again. RCR, Mike Snyder, they've shown a lot of potential. Colleague Racing, wow, Joe Gibbs Racing. I think Xfinity might be the best series to follow in NASCAR in 2021. There's just a lot going on, a lot of good drivers and programs, and we do have some other interesting programs happening in Xfinity series as well. Fan favorite Landon Castle's back full time with JD Motorsports. Ryan Vargas, who brought the TikTok sponsorship to NASCAR last year, will also be full time at JDM. Vargas received a lot of attention for his hard work and dedication to be a NASCAR driver, so definitely another fan favorite right there. Jordan Anderson, who finished second last night in the truck race, is stepping up to full-time in Xfinity, but unfortunately Jordan will not race today because the rain canceled qualifying and Jordan didn't have any owner's points to fall back on, so Jordan will not race. And road course racer Jake Buford, I'm sure all of you fans out there who's familiar with GT4 racing know Jake Buford. He's going to be switching to stock car racing with the new Big Machine Racing team. We'll also see former Dale Coyne Racing IndyCar driver Santino Ferrucci run a part-time schedule with Sam Hunt Racing, making a switch to NASCAR competition. Out of those 5 drivers I mentioned, who are you excited to see the most?
For me, I'm most excited to see Jordan Anderson just following his career and especially what he done in the truck series. And now coming up to Xfinity Series, this is going to be a real test for him and that team. The truck series, just being consistent, good finishes, being the owner driver, having that owner driver challenge. Now in the Xfinity Series, it's going to be really something else to see what he could do. And I think it's going to be a really good competition all across the field.
Yeah, one driver I'm looking out for is Santino Ferrucci. He's coming from Indy cars over to NASCAR. You've had a lot of people come from open wheel racing over to stock cars, so I think he'll be competitive. He'll be good on the road courses since that's where he's usually since that's where he competed at when he was in the IndyCar series. So for me, I think it'll be Santino Ferrucci.
Yeah, and I also agree with you as well, Adam, but probably not going to make some of our viewers happy to say Santino Ferrucci, considering everything that's happened in his past. But I do think it's going to be interesting watching an open wheel driver make the switch to stock cars. I'm wondering, is it going to be like a Tony Stewart or Juan Pablo Montoya who are able to find success? Like Tony Stewart, Santino Ferrucci going to become a top NASCAR driver, so they're going to be like Montoya, where he'll find some success in NASCAR, or is it going to be like a Dario Franchitti, where the NASCAR experience was just like so bad that you go back to IndyCar racing? And also, Adam, you mentioned the road courses. I don't think Santino Ferrucci has any road course races on his schedule right now. I remember seeing where Santino was going to focus on the ovals instead of the road courses because Santino needs to get more experience on the ovals right now, and which which I do understand, but it doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't enter him on a road course because that's what he's used to. I think Santino would have a much better shot at being competitive and winning an Xfinity race if it was on a road course. But I do understand that I want to educate him about running ovals and stock car racing. And next, I want to focus on two drivers getting a unique opportunity to race with competitive organizations. Starting with Ty Dillon, all remember a few nights ago when he experienced a heartbreak of failing to qualify for the Daytona 500 with Gaunt Brothers Racing in the second consecutive year. Gaunt Brothers won't be in the Great American Race, so definitely a heartbreaker for Ty and especially for the Gaunt Brothers. However, he'll get to run a few Xfinity races for Joe Gibbs Racing, a number 54 Toyota Supra. And Ty Dillon was fastest in the only practice session yesterday. He'll be sharing the ride with young up-and-comer Ty Gibbs and JGR's Cup drivers. With Ty Dillon being so fortunate to drive for Coach Gibbs, can success in these few races change the course of his career?
I do believe so. I think he'll have a good 2021 season. I look for him to be up front when he competes. And he's a good he's a good driver. I have a lot of respect for him. So we'll see how he does this year when he competes in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, I believe that this is the best opportunity that Ty Dillon has received in his career, so I'm sure he's going to go out there and maximize the potential of the car. And the driver to number 8 Chevrolet this weekend is Josh Berry. This name is familiar to short track fans in the South. He's been a member of Junior Motorsports' late model team for a while, made a few starts for the big Xfinity team several years ago, but he hasn't had the funding to go full-time NASCAR racing at the big level. With Sam Mayer taking over this ride later in the year when he turns 18, Dale and Kelly needed someone to fill in the races, especially with Daniel Hemrick moving to JGR. They turned to his loyal late model driver, Josh Berry. Sometimes, as we all know, this business can be very cutthroat, but in other cases, loyalty to one team can play off, like in this case with Josh Berry. How exciting is the opportunity for a short track standout, being able to race at the world center of racing?
I think it is. I think it'll be really good experience for Josh Berry competing at Daytona. He'll be around drivers that have a lot of experience at the track, so I expect him to probably have a top 5, top 10 finish in the Xfinity Series today. So it should be a good race for him, and I look for him to have a really good 2021 season.
Yeah, it should definitely be a good race for Josh Berry, and also it's gonna be good during this first half of the 2021 season, getting an opportunity to go Xfinity racing in a competitive car. So Josh Berry definitely will have opportunities to win. And one quick follow up before we get to your part about supercars, Adam. Do you think more drivers should consider loyalty to a single team instead of shopping around for other opportunities? As we see here with Josh Berry, loyalty paid off big time.
I do, Kobe. I think it'd be a really good experience. You know, for the driver, I think he would do really well in the series. So I think he'd have a very good setup. He would probably have a really competitive car. So that's my take.
Good stuff, Adam. And Xfinity qualifying was canceled due to weather. Per rules, reigning Xfinity champion Austin Cindric will start on the pole. 40 cars will race, and unfortunately, 5 went home. And those 5 drivers are Tyler Reddick, Chris Cockrum, Jordan Anderson, Ronnie Bassett Jr., and Mario Gosselin. Unfortunately, they didn't make the cut. And Adam, I think you have some supercars to talk about.
I sure do. The 2021 Repco Supercross Championship gets underway in just a few weeks, but earlier this week, the series made an announcement that made fans go crazy. They teamed up with the streaming site YouTube, and for $5.99 a month, you'll be able to see all the action from the land down under. You'll get practice, qualifying, support races, and main races. Plus, you'll have access to some of the greatest races in series history thanks to Super Archive. For example, you'll be able to see Scott McLaughlin win his first career race in his home country of New Zealand. The 2014 Bathurst 1000 featured an epic battle between Jamie Whincup driving a Holden Commodore and David Reynolds driving a Ford Falcon. Plus, you'll be able to see action from when the series came over here to the United States and competing at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. I've got the subscription, and for all the fans watching, you should too.
Thank you for that great information, Adam. Now it's time to end our program discussing three major stories that took place in recent days. The Alpine Formula One team provided an update on Fernando Alonso's condition. On Thursday, we learned that Fernando Alonso had been struck by a car while cycling in Switzerland and hospitalized. Yesterday, Alpine released an update on his condition, first confirming Andrew Benson from BBC's report that Alonso had fractured his upper jaw. He underwent a successful operation and will remain in the hospital for the next 48 hours for further observation. Alonso will be able to resume training for the 2021 Formula One season after a few days of rest. Alpine expects him to be ready to go. Alonso sent out a tweet thanking everyone for their well wishes, and he's looking forward to his Formula One return.
Major news dropped yesterday afternoon that Mazda DPI program will conclude at the end of the 2021 season. Many were hopeful to see Mazda will keep the prototype program around into the new era, but the news probably isn't a major shock considering the scale back to a single car effort this year. Mazda has been the top level of prototype racing since 2014, going through many ups and downs, trying to build a competitive program after so many issues with reliability. Throughout the day, Speed Source, the famous team Yolis Motorsports, and now Multimatic Mazda Motorsports, they were finally able to produce a race-winning prototype team in the Mazda DPI. With Mazda exiting the DPI race, we won't see them enter LMDH in a couple of years when the new regulations arrive.
Yes, real unfortunate news from Mazda there, but they definitely have a lot to be proud of about there. I remember all the struggles they had with the Sky diesel program. Then they switched to the gasoline program, was still struggling. Then they got the program headed in the right direction, and now Mazda's a race winning team, and they don't have anything at all to be ashamed of. And ahead of tomorrow's Daytona 500, NASCAR President Steve Phelps provided some interesting information. NASCAR will likely return to more practice and qualifying next season after scaling back during the pandemic. This year, we'll only see practice and qualifying at select races. NASCAR has also been in contact with the Biden administration and the White House about making every racetrack available as a mass vaccination site to get shots into arms in hopes of ending the global pandemic. NASCAR doesn't plan to move to any type of exclusive streaming service anytime soon, despite all the worries from the shutdown of the NBC Sports Network. After doing research, NASCAR was able to determine that the fan base largely supported banning the Confederate flag and supporting social justice.
And we do have a question from the chat room. Who's your guys' pick for the 500 and beef is what's for dinner? Now, I'll definitely say this for the Daytona 500. We will be kicking off Pick a Winner shortly, and tomorrow on our Daytona 500 pre-race show is when we'll finally reveal our Daytona 500 picks. But for the beef, it's what's for dinner 300. Who are you guys picking? We'll start with you, Toby.
As I said, well, like Joe mentioned, we're going to save our Daytona 500 pick of winners for tomorrow. But for today's NASCAR Xfinity Series race, I'm going to go with Ty Dillon in the 54. He was fastest in practice. I think he has a good piece under him. And I just believe that everything's going to fall into place for Ty Dillon to win today, especially after missing the Daytona 500 with Gaunt Brothers Racing.
Well, if you want my pick, I'll go with someone that has a lot of experience in the Xfinity Series. I'll go with Justin Allgaier to take the checkered flag at the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida, later on today.
I'm going to go with the person that's going to be starting up front. You definitely have all the momentum from the win that championship. Austin Cindric, I feel he's going to be the best bet to get the championship win of the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. Now, final practice for the Daytona 500 did get rained out. Got a few minutes of practice in this morning, but that's still going to be a big hinder for all the teams that are in the backup cars, including William Byron. Tomorrow, our Daytona 500 pre-race show at noon Eastern. Will Denny Hamlin win 3 in a row? We'll preview the Great American Race, live streaming on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Make a note of it. Link to the show on YouTube in the video description below. You don't want to miss this. It's definitely going to be really fun. If you're going to be out and about, put on your mobile device, listen as we break down the race. Daytona 500 pre-race noon Eastern on the Grid Network. Definitely invite everyone to check that out, as well as all our partners, Pablos, Patreon. Colin, thank you for sponsoring us. And definitely, Daytona 500 noon Eastern, we'll see you there. For Adam and Kobe from the Podium Finish, I'm Joe. Thank you. Enjoy the races. See you next time. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Pablos. Pablos is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbless.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.